All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week one, okay? So basically, for those of you who don't know, I have been documenting this process of me attempting to build a content agency from the ground up as somebody who, I really don't know how to start a business at all. I mean, I have a little bit of experience, well, I have a lot of experience in making content, but for other businesses, I've made content for a few people. I guess, okay, I have some experience, right? I don't want to discredit myself, especially if a future client goes and looks at this video. I swear to God, I know what I'm doing, okay? Trust me. But all this to say, I'm not used to the process of acquiring clients, you know, trying to make like sales calls, trying to make an offer so that it makes sense for both people. All of that like nitty gritty detail stuff is kind of what I'm facing now and kind of the battle. So I'm trying to remember my train of thought here because I'm driving and doing this at the same time. Please don't hit me. So to give you guys an update, right? Basically where I'm at right now is the last video that you saw. I was giving you guys the plan, kind of telling you what the new year was going to look like, right? So what I didn't tell you guys in that video was, truthfully, I already started on making the business prior to that video. My idea to document it kind of came after I started a little bit, right? Because I've been thinking about this idea for so long. So before the new year even started, I went and cold approached a couple businesses just to kind of see like what would happen, right? So I cold approached two, okay? The first one, I walked up to them and dude, I was so nervous, okay? And a little bit of TMI, but like I drank an energy drink before and so I had to take a dump. Bro, not the thing that you want on your mind when you're going into a cold approach, you know? I don't know if I needed to add that, but I just figured I'd be, you know, the idea of this is to be vulnerable and to show you guys the real side of it. So I figured I'd tell you. So after I got finished with my business in the Marshall's restroom, right? I just said, you know what, like, all right, let's just swallow the pride, swallow the fear. Let's just walk in there and just start the conversation, right? So I walk into the business. I ask to speak to the decision maker, which I've watched a ton of YouTube videos on this stuff, guys. And that, I would say, was probably one of my best decisions going in. That was a good decision, right? To talk to the decision maker and ask to speak with them. So I ordered my food, asked to speak with the decision maker, which was like the guy who owned the franchise location. And I just said to him, I'm like, look, man, listen, like, I was looking at your social media. I've actually met this guy in person very briefly. He like handed me a free sample at the gym. So I was like, listen, like, I see that you're posting a lot on social media. I feel like you have a ton of potential. I feel like you have a ton of, I feel like the hardest part about posting is just posting. And to see that you're willing to do the first step and you're willing to put yourself and your business out there is a great first step. But I think with a little bit of work on the posts, we can really make something excellent out of it, right? And now obviously in the moment I was probably talking a lot smoother, you know, I probably had a lot more clarity of headspace, but to give you guys the gist, that's what I said, right? And he was like, well, what do you have in mind? And so I'd done my research. Okay, do your research before you walk up to businesses, right? Because it reflects well. It's the same thing I saw a guy talking about the interview process, and he says it's super important to do your research. Just as much, it's important to do your research whenever you're trying to get a client, right? So I was like, listen, I watched this video, like there's a delay between when the video actually starts and the most important part of a video is the first 5 seconds. So it's like on short form, if you really want to grab people's attention, you got to really fight for it in that first 5 seconds. And it looks like we're not taking advantage of that. So essentially he needs better hooks, right? That's what I started with. And then second off, I like looked around and I was like, a lot of these videos too, it's just you're seeing the same thing where it's like they're not really that interesting, like, and they aren't going to really grab people's attention. I was like, so if you'd want, I'd love to shoot a free video for you today. And he was like, well, let's do it. I was like, let's go. For some reason, my camera likes to stop every 5 minutes, so I don't know where that cut off. But anyway, this first client, it was going super well, right? Like, he was very receptive, was like listening to my advice. He didn't really have a whole lot of, how do I describe it? Like, he didn't have a lot to say in return, which was great, because it's like, I'm not, like, I don't have any reason to lie, you know? Like, I'm not, like, going in there and just making this shit up. Like, his videos could genuinely use my help. And so whenever I'm talking to him and he's not being like, well, these videos are great, you know, that makes my life a lot easier, because I don't want to sit there and have to, like, juggle the thought process of having to explain to somebody why their efforts suck, right? I mean, nobody likes doing that. So that's how that went. So I shot the free video for him, and I shot it over right as soon as possible. Like, I literally edited it on my phone in the parking lot. Like, I was hustling, okay, because I wanted to make sure that he knew that I was about it, right? Like, you know, especially because he's my first one. I'm like, man, wouldn't that be cool if I really signed the first client? So I do that, you know, we're talking, or I apologize. So I edit the video, I send it over to him, and I'm like, hey man, you know, just got finished with this, like, hope you enjoy it, let me know what you think. And so he's like, wow, this is great, you know, and I got really good feedback. So I was like, okay, sick. Like, you know, I feel like I'm doing everything right so far, right? So now where we're at is we're in the stages of discussing, like, I'm kind of wondering, I don't really know when the right time to draw the line is when it comes to free work, you know, because obviously, like, I'm game to help this guy out, but my goal is, like, obviously I want him as a client, right? Like, I want to sign the business. So it's like, I would love to, I love making videos, so it's not a problem for me to do free work for a little while to show, like, proof of concept, but inevitably my goal is to just, like, make videos with him long enough so I understand what his problems are and what, like, how my solution can fit into that, right? So it's like, it makes my life a lot easier if I go into the sales pitch and I already know what the problem is that he's facing, and he already knows I'm able to solve it based on the previous encounters that we've had, right? And so, now keep in mind also, everything I'm saying could be completely BS, because this is my first time doing this. But I've watched a lot of YouTube content, and I also just, like, I feel like that makes sense, right? Right? Hopefully. But I don't know. Like I said, man, I'm not claiming to know all the answers on this channel. This is more so supposed to be just looking at the process and seeing how it goes and seeing the build of it and how it grows to be what I know will be something exceptional. So you got to start somewhere, right? And this is where we're starting. So I haven't done, oh, I'm sorry. And then the other cold approach that I did, I walked up and I tried to speak to the manager at a gym, and he was working out, and it's a CrossFit gym. So he was, like, leading the workout. So that didn't really make sense for me to be like, hey, let me interrupt your workout. You know, like, timing wise, I just felt like I could really pick a better time. So I said that, you know, I introduced myself to somebody who was up there, like, you know, a friend of a friend, something like that. Honestly, I wasn't super excited with how that went. Like, I wish that I could have gotten to speak to somebody that had a little bit more weight in the gym. Not to disrespect this guy, he was super kind, but it's just, he's not the person who's gonna be making the decisions. This is why I said, like, at the other place, it went super smooth, because I didn't have any obstacles like this. So I go up and I try to talk with him. He's like, oh, like, or I ask where the manager is, and he's like, oh, like, he's over there working out. Like, you know, there's probably a better time than now. Like, I could just, like, give him your number, and then you guys could figure something out another time. I was like, damn it. But I was like, okay, cool. And as I was walking out, the guy handed me his card. So we got something, right? So those are the two that we have to start with. Then I did a good bit of outreach just to people that I know or have helped in the past, because genuinely, like, guys, when I say that, like, I know the sauce when it comes to getting views on social media, bro, I know the sauce, okay? I know it. And so it's like, you know, it almost makes me excited that I'm in a position now where I can help, like, people and help my friends understand this thing that I've taken and I've studied for so long. Like, I'm genuinely excited about it. And so that's kind of like the update as for right now. I will keep you guys posted as to how things are going, etc. But basically, we're in motion, but we don't have any clear, like, wins yet, you know, but nonetheless, hopeful for some soon. So that's probably going to be it for this video. I'm super grateful to everybody who tuned in. If you want to get in touch with me, or if you want to see just more of the behind the scenes of the series as to what I'm up to, etc., feel free to follow my short form accounts. It is Maceism on Instagram and TikTok. So that's MACEISM. right? Like, okay, not like racism, but you get the point, all right? So I'm excited to see you guys there. I'd love to interact, and I feel like on short form, you can really get a better idea of what the day-to-day looks like, because there's no way I'm making a YouTube video every day. That wouldn't make sense. So I will, yeah, I mean, I'll see you guys there soon. Maybe there'll be more structure to these YouTube videos at some point, but for now, I feel like it's good to just keep it raw, keep it authentic, show you guys what's going on, and let me know in the comments, like feedback, etc. But shoot, see you guys.